Hello.
Hey.
We're back. We're back for
Yeah.
another edition.
These 2 weeks fly by.
I
I
agree
love
with
that we
you.
do it every 2 weeks because it gives us a chance to do some good, solid reading and get some
Yep.
content to talk about. But then I'm like, oh, we're here again.
Yeah.
Time is flying by.
Super fast. And also it's March 30th.
Oh,
Wild.
I can't believe it. It doesn't
Just
feel doesn't feel
wild.
possible that we are another month done.
I
We're getting
know.
ready to go into the fourth month of the year.
It's a little bit crazy. But hey, that's the way life goes, I guess, these days.
So,
Right? Really excited though to be back and to kind of chat about our book today, and then obviously about what's coming up for the month of April, and what our next book is going to be. And then you and I were just chatting quickly about before we joined the stream about how many books we'd been reading in March. So I know we'll do probably a bigger dive into that once we chat about probably Astro Library next time around and we talk about March. But seems like we've both had big reading months in the month of
we
March.
did.
Yeah.
We
So that's
did.
great.
And it's still not over yet. We still have another 2 days. Yeah, there's
Day
31
and a
days in March.
half. Yeah.
There's 31 days. That's still
There are.
we still have
What
two
day is
solid
it?
days.
Oh, today's the
We're the
29th.
29th.
I was thinking it was the 30th.
I only know that because I'm looking at it on my computer.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, the 30th? No, I'm trying to. No wonder March feels like it's gone by fast. I don't even know what day it is.
Got it one less day.
I totally thought
Now
today
you
was
just gained an
March
extra
30th.
day.
I know. Look at me.
Yeah.
I won't get a book read in 2 days, but never know.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're going into the work week though, which is never
Yeah.
is not
100%.
conducive to our reading challenge.
No, it's not conducive. How many books are you at so far this year? I'm just curious.
I need to look because I've had some. This weekend was a solid weekend of reading. It is still ridiculously cold here in New Brunswick.
Oh.
It is sunny out, and so it looks like it should be warm, but it is so frigid that I just had a very solid weekend of reading.
Okay.
I am on my 23rd book of the
Nice.
year.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Goodreads gets me though, because this morning when I started, when I was updating, because I like to update, because I have a bad habit of bookmarks falling out of my book.
Yes.
So I always try to keep track of what page I'm
you're on. Yeah.
Just in case.
I do that too.
You never know. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm finally one book behind schedule. I just opened my app to look. It's now saying I'm 2 books behind schedule. I've been 3. I was 3 at the start of the weekend.
So you're you're working against Goodreads, basically.
And it's not important. It is not important. That is not why we do this.
No, it's not.
But still, I was like, got that little I'm catching up. And then Goodreads just is like, yeah, you thought you were.
You thought you were. Yeah, I think I'm on my 26th book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm overachieving, but I do expect to slow down now. So, that's okay. We have plenty of time to reassess. Plenty of time to reassess.
Remember, it's a set it and regret it.
Absolutely.
And forget it.
And forget it. Exactly. So today, though, we are talking about Broken Country. So this is the book we're going to talk about. It is an interesting book. I'm super interested to see what everyone thinks about this novel, as well as you, Caitlin, because, there's been a lot of talk about Broken Country. It's another one that's been all over the socials and all over, the New York Times list and all that good stuff. So that's what we're going to dive into. And just a reminder for everyone, we, typically talk about books and then we give you a heads up when there's going to be spoilers. I think today is going to be pretty light on the no spoilers
Yeah.
discussion, but we will do our best to let you know. And then, of course, if you happen to want to keep up with us, in between our streams, you can find us on the socials. So we're on Instagram and TikTok. So Broken Country.
Mhm.
Let's get into it. We picked this book. I feel like we're like I feel like we are as a two-side same story community, we are trying to help you read the physical books that are in your house. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. It very much is. Because I have been stockpiling
Yeah.
for
Years.
especially the last 2 years. I have been stockpiling, being like, oh my gosh, I need this book. Even today. So I was at Chapters.
Uh-oh.
And I mean, the new Abby Jimenez book came out, and they had
Oh.
it in hardcover and softcover. And although the softcover is not nearly as pretty as the hardcover, 'cause it
So
has
which
sprayed
one did you buy?
edges. I bought nothing. I walked out of Chapters with 0 books in my hand because I was like,
my
I
goodness.
do not need them. I have so many books that I need to read because the library has been coming through for me lately.
That's right.
And I have this huge stack of books that I had to have immediately. And just they sat on my book. They have been sitting on my bookshelf. So I'm very excited that I'm finally starting to make a dent in that pile. I will say the exception of that rule will be when a certain book 6 comes out in
Oh,
October.
yes. Okay. Yeah. Oh, October is so far away, though.
That's still stressing me out because I'm pretty sure it's going to come out in hardcover. Book 1 through 5 that I own are all in softcover.
Oh, okay.
I'm already stressing, but that's a discussion for another time. Because we got to get back to Broken Country.
Yes. So while we are supporting your physical TBR, I have to say though, kudos. You have quite a selection for us to work through of newer novels. I would say the other thing too is it is the hype, right? This was Risa's book club book. It was on the New York Times bestseller list for a number of weeks. I saw today as well that there's going to be a film adaptation of Broken Country, with the caveat that it's being done by the same people who did Where the Crawdads Sing. I know. So, and I have strong feelings about that adaptation. I know. So I wasn't very excited. I do think it's Hello Sunshine, I think is the production company, which I do think is Reese Witherspoon. So that makes sense that
Well, I think she sold it though. I think she sold it for a couple, just a shy couple $1 billion.
As you do. She just turned 50. Good for her.
I think I remember hearing about that because of the amount, the fact that it was, there was some accolades as to with the sale of it and everything like that. But again, I mean, there's been very few movies that Hello Sunshine has put out that I haven't enjoyed. So, although I think Where the Crawdads Sing might have been also.
It's fine.
Can't win it all.
I mean, you can try, but no, you're not going to keep everyone happy. So definitely was game to read Broken Country, with all of that. And then, once again, it's just we're your book support groups. So we're going to help you get through that massive TBR so you can buy more books also. Yes. But for those of you who don't know anything about Broken Country, we're going to get into it shortly, but essentially a lot of themes about grief and love and honestly how sometimes people make choices that just spiral their lives out of control completely. And I think this is one of those. But from an overview perspective, we follow Beth Johnson. She is our main character that we're following. Most of this book does take place in the 1960s, and it's in rural England. I believe it's like a town north of Dorset. And yeah, it's covers multiple timelines. We basically learn about Beth, her teenage love interest in Gabriel Wolfe, and then her husband, Frank Johnson. And then, of course, this is not a spoiler because I think it's on the book jacket, but the fact that, they lose their son, Bobby, early on. So that is essentially what the book is about. I have a lot of opinions about this book, and
Okay. I'm very intrigued.
I just wanted to get into it, I think, like right away, and we're going to do it different today. I know we normally like talk a little bit spoiler free about how we felt about the book, but today I just want to know what you rated this book. Like we're going to go straight with the ratings. If you've joined us, please drop in the chat. Did you read the book? And then once we've shared our star ratings, feel free to share yours. No explanations. Just get it in there.
Before I share my star rating, I do want to say I think this is the first book that we've done on here that I had a lot of people say that they've read it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like it just because it's been on so many lists and that it's been really popular that I've this is probably the book that I've had the most people be like, oh my gosh, yes, I've read it.
Yeah.
And no one really gave me any other indication because I either hadn't read it yet or have been trying to keep my opinions close.
Yeah.
Because I knew we were talking about it on here. But yeah, it was really interesting to just hear that a lot of people that are in my close circle who love to read have read this. So, and maybe this will make people want to read it. Those who haven't.
Or maybe, or not.
Who knows?
Who knows? Could go either way. All right, Caitlin.
Okay.
Tell us.
I gave this book 5 stars. I feel like you went the complete opposite.
Oh, God. Yeah, and I'm not going to give any explanations. But I will tell you that, much like the last book we read, I came real close to giving it a lower star rating than what I did. So I gave this book a generous 3 stars. Generous.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So, so generous 3 stars. And we'll get into it, but I think generally I would say this book is a beautifully written book that made me extremely frustrated. Extremely frustrated. And all because of one person. Just one person.
I'm going to go with Beth.
It was Beth. Yeah, Beth really, really was not, we might as well get into it. She was just not for me, man, as a protagonist. Beth, if the book hadn't been so well written, and Clare Leslie Hall really does write, she writes a beautiful story. But I almost gave this book 2 stars, and
really,
it is. I think if I think about we're no longer literary, we're not literary critics. We do this because we enjoy reading, and English minor aside, I have to say that at this point I feel like a book objectively can be well written, and for me, not enjoyable to read.
Okay.
And Beth is, in my perspective, and I think this is intentional. She is supposed to be, a flawed main character. She is a flawed protagonist. She is an unreliable narrator because her emotions and her experiences get in the way all of the time. But I have to say that she was to the point of making this book unenjoyable. She was so flawed and frustrating that if we weren't talking about this book, I probably would have DNF'd it.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, we had very different experiences.
So that's my
I
that's my 2 cents, and it's all Beth's fault.
I read this book in 2 days. And if I didn't have to work, I would have read it in 1 day easily, cover to cover.
Yeah, I think
I
I read
could
this book over 3 days.
I
2 days, 3 days.
I
Yep.
flew through it and I could not like and I will say when I first started reading it, the back and forth between the timelines I was like, "Whoa, this is jumping around a little weird." But I got into the flow of it really quickly because that was my big concern. I was like, I'm not loving the way this book is set up.
Yep.
But as soon as I got to like the kind of like the third or the second round of like the jumping, I got into the flow. Um I will say I Beth did make poor choices. There were a lot of things that Beth did that I was like, "Girl, what are you thinking? What are you doing?" But that was the point.
Yep.
And do I necessarily love Beth? No, but I loved the story. I was captivated. I loved that we didn't know who was on trial.
Yep.
We didn't know who was no longer with us. We didn't know that there was a lot of things that you didn't know until near the end. Like she did a
Yeah.
really amazing job
And this is
to
where
not
the
give
writing
too many
comes in,
hints.
right? Like this is where
100%.
the amazing writing of the author comes in. And
Yeah.
for
So
me,
I
like,
was captivated from the start, being
interesting.
like, I need to know how this all plays out. I need to know. Like, and I mean, I can get through like, and I guess that's where I think maybe we differ in that I can absolutely hate or not agree with a character, but it won't impact if I enjoy the story or not. It will make like if I really love a character, I will really thoroughly enjoy. Like there's a series I'm reading right now, completely different, but it's the Assistant to the Villain series. The main character is absolutely hilarious, and I
Yep.
love her because she like says things that she thinks she's saying things out in her mind, but she's saying them out loud. Like she's just awkward and funny and hilarious.
Yep.
And if I didn't have if that character wasn't in there, I don't know if I'd enjoy the books as much. With this one, like I was like, oh, Beth is a terrible person. Like just making
One,
really bad choices,
yeah.
not good. But I understood where she was coming from. Because if I was in her situation, I don't know if I'd make the exact
So,
same choices, but
so to
I
clarify
could
though,
empathize.
but so you like Beth or you don't like Beth?
I don't necessarily love Beth's character, but I
Okay.
empathized with her. I understood
Mm,
where she was coming from because of the situations that had happened. Again, would I make the same
yeah.
choices in her
Yeah.
shoes? I would like to think no,
Yep.
but I would like I haven't been in her situation. And so like I really empathized with what she had gone through and what
Yeah.
made her decide to do what was like the catalyst to make her to make those decisions.
I think though, like,
Um
she just consistently is selfish. She is consistently selfish and doesn't take accountability hardly at all, depending on, I don't know, like the way you look at it, but like a very little accountability on how she gets herself in the situation.
yeah.
And ultimately, she is a woman in her 30s that makes choices that hurts everyone around her, and she knows it, yet she just keeps doing it. And I think I have read books before with, flawed protagonists where you're like, you want that person to do better. You want them to make different choices, and you're hoping that's what you're going to see happen in the book. And there was no point in this novel that I was rooting for Beth to be a better person. I disliked her that much, and the amount of like frustration that I had with her as a character, it totally it overshadowed my experience with the book. And I did read it pretty quick. I got through it quickly. But I would say the like wanting to know what happened in terms of the trial and who was dead and who was on trial was very interesting for me. And that's probably the reason why I kept reading the book. But I like, I lost patience with her so many times. And I had no empathy for Beth with the exception of her losing her son. That is the only place where I had empathy for this woman. In the whole book, the person I have the most empathy for is Frank. And like my heart broke for this character so much.
Absolutely.
But like no, Beth can go fuck herself. Like there was times in this book where I put the book down and I was like, I hate her. Like I hate this woman. And
Okay.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Maybe I was
I
hate
think
reading. That's why I needed to know.
maybe
Yeah, didn't like her.
I see. I have a lot of empathy for Beth, and like in all of the things that happened throughout her life, because again, I don't. Like I said, there was a lot of decisions that she made that I was like, no, girl, like no, just you're
Yeah,
making the wrong choice. Um, but people do that on a regular basis. Like, and I mean, I don't know if we're getting into spoilers here, but um, people go out of their marriage and like
yep,
make bad choices more often than not, I'd say, in today's world, which sucks, but it's the reality. And so I will never condone cheating or like it really rubs me the wrong way. Maybe it's because I've been cheated on. I've never done it personally, but like I really don't. It really bothers me when people do that because I'm like, it's disrespectful. But again, at the same time, if I had been if I had been through what Beth had been through, again, I don't think I'd make the same choices. I'd like to think not,
yeah,
but I get where she's coming from. I don't like, again, did she make the right choices to stay with Frank? Did she make the right choices? There's just so many different choices that she made that would have altered the path of her life. And I
yeah,
think that's where, like, there's some key events, but there's also some little micro events too that
yep,
happen that you're like, you know what, if she had just done something different, or if someone else had said something other than what happened, it would have completely altered the state of her life, which I think that's what I appreciated is that, we're, not all in the same situation, but that happens every day. Like we don't even realize things that could have happened or have happened that impacted
yeah,
that took the direction of our life.
yeah.
And
And
I think that's what I really enjoyed. Again, there was a couple, but like I really empathized with her because I'm like, grief is tough. Like I can't imagine I'm trying not to do any spoilers. This is really
no,
hard
you can do
because it's a
spoilers. That's fine.
okay. Spoiler alert.
But like
We're there.
she, you already touched on the fact like, clearly she's having an affair.
Mhm.
And I don't think like I lost a lot of patience for her in that and not because like the one off happened, at the wedding and we know all along that there's going to be this love triangle that happens between Beth, Frank and Gabriel and like Frank knows it for fuck's sakes. Like he knows
Yeah.
that Gabriel's back in town and this is going to be problematic, but I think it's just the fact that like she keeps it going. It keeps going. She doesn't make a decision. And in my mind, regardless of if it's in the 1960s or it's the 2020s, like if you want Gabriel, leave your husband. If you want your husband, stop having an affair, right? Like you don't get to have both worlds to make yourself feel better. And that is where I was just like this woman. Like I just can't
I
with
think she
her.
truly, but I think that where I get a little more empathy for her though, because again, I really like the cheating. I was just like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Um, I think she truly loved both men. I think she was truly in love with both of the men. And I think I feel for her because I get, and like, I can't imagine the amount of blame and like anger she would have had towards Frank with what
100%.
happened with
Yep.
Bobby.
Yep.
And so like that, I think
Yep.
there's so many things to unpack, and that's where it's like, if Gabriel hadn't come back, would everything, I don't know if Frank and Beth would have still been good. I think they would have been like, I don't know, like if it wasn't Gabriel coming back and the affair, I don't know if something else would have happened because of all of the things that they've been through. I don't know
So
if they would have lived happily ever after.
so then were you hoping that Beth were you rooting for Beth and Gabriel, or were you rooting for Beth and
I honestly
Frank?
wasn't rooting for anybody because I was just like, this sucks for everybody involved. This honestly sucks for every single person involved. And again, I don't condone cheating. I'll probably say this so many times, but like, I just, if Gabriel had been like a one-off or like a new guy that comes into town, like I understood where they were coming from and the fact that they never really closed the door properly on their relate. And yes, they were kids. Like, I get it. But like, I think Gabriel was her true love. And they both walked away because they were young and stubborn and stupid, and bitch of a mother was
Yep.
fucking everything up. Um,
Yeah, she wasn't great. She certainly didn't help the situation.
no.
But like, there's
Um,
so many years, Caitlin. Like, and because we're saying
but I don't think
spoilers,
you ever,
but
yeah,
like,
like,
okay, but like when we find out Bobby is Gabriel's son,
oh my God, I got goosebumps because I initially thought it at the start when she describes what Bobby looks like.
okay,
I'm like, that does not sound like
yep.
Frank. That's Bobby, or that's Gabriel's child.
But
And then completely forgot about it. And then at the very
and
end,
then
when she's like,
would
I
like
was like,
find that out, yeah.
oh shit.
But
I
like,
got full body chills.
that's like probably what I lost even more. If I had any empathy for her, this is even more when it goes out the window. Like,
Why?
well, let's see. She's supposed to be a smart young woman who's going to Cambridge. She has all of these years, and yes, it is the 1950s, but by the time the story comes about again, things have changed in terms of, this is when the 1960s are where women are starting to have a lot more progress, right? So like the fact that she never thinks she should tell Gabriel, like she just never thinks she should, like, and he comes back and she develops a bond with Leo and she just never thinks she should tell Gabriel. Like until this horrific thing happens, like she's supposed to be a smart, intelligent woman for the time. She's supposed to be ahead of her time. And she just keeps making decisions that keep the lie going. And for me, that is
Again,
so problematic.
I think, but if you like, and I think if Bobby was still alive, though, would you think differently? Because that would completely, like, that's the thing. Again, it's like, yes, there is a right way. There is a right answer to do. Like, there is always like, there's a clear, don't cheat on your husband, or like, if you don't love your husband anymore, like, walk away if you're in love with another man. If you have a child, but again, putting yourself in her shoes where this mother, bitch of a mother, has been like, I'm going to pay you off to never come near my son and never tell my son anything because I don't want you to ruin his life, which you obviously have because you're not worthy of him. And then this beautiful man named Frank comes along as like, I will raise this child as my own.
Yep.
And then Gabriel comes back in the picture. But if Bobby was still alive as a 12-year-old child, would you want to completely upend that child's life? Like, again, yes, in theory, you would tell the truth to everybody.
Yep.
But
I think the whole catalyst
would you
based
actually
on
do it if you were actually in Beth's position? Would you do that?
But your whole catalyst for why having empathy for Beth is because of what she went through. And in this scenario, you're saying Bobby didn't die. So like if Bobby didn't die, she probably wouldn't have went to go see Gabriel. She wouldn't have put herself in this emotional crazy like construct, right? Yeah.
Say there's no but again,
that's like the metaverse. Like that's a whole different like timeline that potentially would have happened. But like to use that as the crutch of like, well, all these shitty things happen to her. Like, no, I'm just like, well, fuck, man. Like, you're perpetuating your own circumstances, and you just had to make a choice, right? Like, and no, this is why Frank is the person who gets my empathy, because like he got the short end of the stick in every aspect of this story.
And I think that's where, like, if I put myself in Beth's shoes in the exact scenario, I would have really struggled with not absolutely hating my husband and blaming him. I don't know if I would have been able to stay with my husband if that happened. And you hear about that when there's a child that dies, especially young, that it really will tear families apart.
Yep.
100%. I don't know if I would have been able to stay, because I would have had a lot of blame. I would have, like, so that I think is part of it. I think if I had been in her situation as a young, like 17, 18-year-old girl, pregnant, being told by this snotty, awful woman, like, do not ever, tell him what happened. You're heartbroken because you think he cheated on you. Like, there's so many things that like that build those decisions. I don't know if I would have made a different choice.
But I think that's why she's unreliable. I think that's why she's an unreliable narrator, right?
But because she shows the human side of like that we as humans, we are faced with really hard decisions. We don't always make the right one. Sometimes we make the easier one or the one we think that's right at the time. Because I think obviously, like, as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old girl who like basically she knows she's not going to be going to Oxford, because she thinks her boyfriend cheated on her. She also is pregnant and
she's
getting kicked out of school.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and back then it was like, you just didn't do that. She's now faced with this boy who is like willing to, give her everything that he can to help her through this. Like,
Frank is the gem of this entire novel.
I see where she made, like, why she made those choices, because
but she's like, she's in her 30s when this story comes about, right? So I think, yes, when you're 17, 18 years old, I agree with you. There are all these reasons why she made the decisions that she made. I just don't think that's an excuse for the way that she behaved in the present day. Right? Like, she had plenty of opportunities before the murder to tell Gabriel the truth about her son. About their son.
I don't know if she ever would, though.
But she could have. She carried a picture around with him and looked at it all the time. He saw the photo. Like, I think so I think she just perpetuated the circumstances because like she was making selfish decisions and wanted to do what was in her best interest.
So if she had never told him that Bobby was his son,
I would hate her a little less.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, a little less.
I didn't love that. Like, I was like, that kind of
like super great.
I felt bad. I felt really bad for everybody involved in that, because I felt like my heart broke for Gabriel for not getting to know that he had a son and knowing that his mother was an absolute cunt.
But he did know that about his mom. Wouldn't have been a surprise.
But not to that extent. He knew it. Like, I don't think he would have thought that she would have gone to those depths to keep. Because I think, I truly believe that if she had told him, he would have come home and they would have ended up together.
Of course.
Because I think they truly loved each other. So I think, so yeah, my heart broke for Gabriel because of that. And also because of what he's going through with his own son now too, because of all that. My heart broke for Beth because she's having, like, because of all the loss, the initial heartbreak that she had when she thought that Gabriel was cheating on her, the initial, being pregnant and not knowing what was going to happen and her dreams not coming true and her life drastically changing because of that. And then losing her son and blaming her husband. Like,
but for all intents and purposes, though, before Bobby died, she was doing just fine, Caitlin. Yep. She, like, so I I don't feel sad for her. She ended up in the best scenario she could, considering it was the mid 1950s or like late 1950s, and someone who truly loves and cares about her is giving her, well, not the life she imagined, a wonderful life and a ton of love, and she
And
has
I
a
think
great
she was
life.
content. I
Yeah,
think she was content. That's the thing. Like, if Bobby hadn't died and
yeah,
Gabriel came back, I think it would have been a very different outcome.
yeah.
I
That's
think
not
she
the
was
book we
so
read, though.
stuck. No, I know, but I think she was so stuck in her grief too that, you sometimes just look for, like, I think she was just in such grief, and because they didn't have other like, and I know that that changes because then
Mhm.
she ends up having a child with Frank, but I think because they didn't have any children other than Bobby, like, she just latched onto Leo, and that just led to her just being stuck in the past, being
Like a
dragged back in the
horrible
past.
situation that, once again, is her fucking up everybody else's life.
Yeah.
She is literally the catalyst for why her brother-in-law is dead. Jimmy is dead because of
Absolutely.
Beth,
Yes,
right? Like,
absolutely.
so
Oh, there's
like,
no doubt about that.
so I have no empathy for this woman whatsoever. This Leo is traumatized because of Beth, right? Like, all of
But I
these
think
things happen because she can't put her grown-up panties on and make a fucking decision.
yeah.
And this is why I don't
But
like her.
I think at the same time though, like, I do have empathy because I feel like other like we find ourselves in, I'm not saying similar situations,
Is
but
there
like
something
we
you're not
know.
telling me, Caitlin?
No, not at all. But I'm just thinking, like, we find ourselves, like, I think as humans, we find ourselves in situations where we know the right answer. We know the right thing we are supposed to do. There's
Yep.
usually not really any doubt of what the right,
Yeah.
correct thing to do in life is. But I would say we don't always make, and again, not all of them have these types of consequences, thank
Yeah.
God.
Right?
But I think it's human nature to be selfish and not necessarily think about all the outcomes that come out. So I
Yep.
think that's where, like, she is showing a very true human side, because if that
Yep.
was the case, like, if it wasn't the case, then you wouldn't have a lot of families that get destroyed by scandals and
Yep.
cheating and all that stuff. So, like, it's very human. Like, I think it's brave of Clare Leslie Hall to write a character that is actually not a lot to like, but still fine. And I think that's where this book brought a lot of like, I had a lot of empathy for every character involved. Like, I felt bad for, and again, not all the time for Beth, but
Yeah.
there were just certain things where I was like, shit, like, she made these decisions because she was put in this situation and thought she was
Yep.
making the best at the time.
I
And
felt bad
again,
for
I
her
don't
one
agree with
time
every
the entire book.
I don't agree that she made that, that it's excusable with what she did, but
Yep.
again, it's very human, and we
Yep.
all hope that, again, not everybody gets murdered by bad decisions that they make, but it was just one of those things where you hear these situations where it's like, oh, if only this had happened, like, if only Leo hadn't gotten in the car, if only Beth and Leo hadn't gotten in the car, which I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Like, he's a grown ass man. Like, yes, he's wielding a shotgun, but, like, throw him in the car and take him away. Like,
Or
that's
don't
kind of
throw
on
him in the car
Gabriel
at
too. Like,
all
why
and
would you
call the
want your
police.
son?
Yeah. No, I
Right.
agree.
Like,
Yeah.
why would you want your son in a car with a guy who just shot at you? Like, there's so many
Yeah.
bad, unfortunate things that happen. Um, and, like, yes, Beth is the instigator for all of this,
She's the
but she
reason.
wasn't alone.
She's mostly the reason.
But she wasn't alone, because Gabriel could have been like, you know what? I know you're married. I know you have this life.
100%.
I'm
Yes,
gonna back off.
100%. But he
Frank could
wasn't
have been
he
like,
wasn't trying
Frank
to
could have been like,
maintain two relationships, and Beth was.
right. But Frank could have been like, no, we're not doing this.
Yep.
Frank kind of, like, just rolled over and was like, okay, well, but again, I think it was his guilt where he was like, I just want you to be happy. I
Yes.
caused you the biggest heartbreak of
Yep.
your life, and
Yep.
I just want you to be happy. So if this guy makes you happy, then I will look the other way. where Frank
Yep.
had been like, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
You have to make a choice. It's me or him. Again, like there's so many ways that this
Mm.
could have gone. And unfortunately, it went in a way that, again, Frank said he knew his brother was not in a good place.
Yep.
He could have, they let him get away with way too much. So he just would go off the handle. And they knew that. So, like,
Yeah.
there's just so many, like, what ifs, like, what if, and I get why they have loaded guns on the farm because they're
Farm.
trying to keep their livestock
Yep.
alive. But there's just so many things that are like, if this little thing had just happened differently, and that I think is where I really enjoyed the book because it's like there's like these big moments, but there's also these little micro moments or micro decisions that can alter the way things play out.
Yeah. So, I still have the most empathy for Frank. I think he loses the most in the book. He lost his son as well. Like Bobby was raised as his son, and yes, while he was responsible for looking after Bobby, he didn't make Bobby go under the tree when the tree fell down. So like that's a series of unfortunate events that like led to that. He loses his brother, right? He is betrayed by his wife, and he's the one that goes to fucking prison. So let's talk about the trial. I must know, were you surprised to find out who was dead, being Jimmy, and who was on trial for murder, being Frank, when you got there?
So I figured it was either going to be Jimmy or Frank that was killed.
Yeah.
When I found out it was Jimmy, I knew it was going to be Frank.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I was like, this is going to be, and I knew it was Leo. As soon as I knew, like as soon as Leo got in the car, I was like, fuck, it's going to be Leo that shoots Jimmy.
So I also expected, so I either thought it was going to be Gabriel or Frank that was dead. I didn't think it was going to be Jimmy. And then I thought it was going to be Jimmy or Gabriel on trial, because I was thinking more of like a love triangle shootout situation before we got like further into the book. The trial was definitely what was keeping me engaged, because I really did want to know what was happening. And I know there was a few times that like I was reading this book and him like sighing and like being visibly frustrated, and Chris is like, but like you keep reading it, and I was like, yeah, because like I need to know who's dead. Like I need to know this part, but like I hate the main character in this book. I think with the trial itself, and once we get the big we get to the big scene, right, where we find out how the murder actually happens. Mm-hmm. If anything, this is like another reason why I'm just like, man, like Beth's just gonna help. Let's just layer more shit onto poor old Frank. And I understand that is what he wanted. And even she says in the, like at one point in the book, like she wasn't sure if she should have, said something, but like, I think you needed an aspect of being able to like suspend what you know about reality, because yes, it is a small town community, but you're meaning to tell me that it's the 1960s and an 11-year-old boy shoots someone and kills them, and instead of like one coming forward and saying what happened, you're going to let Frank take the fall. And this child gets, because the truth doesn't come out, right? We don't, Frank knows, Beth knows, and Gabriel knows, and Leo knows. These 4 people know. This child is getting no support about what happened. He didn't kill Jimmy because he's like a murderer. He killed Jimmy because he was scared for the life of his father and like all of these things that have happened. And like he was never going to go to jail. Why in God's name did they cover that up? This poor child gets no support.
Again, I think
just wild.
I think it goes down to decision making though. Like if you put yourself in their situation, you're not thinking straight. Like Frank just lost his brother. He's also carrying guilt because I think he partially feels responsible for Beth being with Gabriel because he broke her heart by not looking after her son. I think because Gabriel wanted to come forward and like be like, no, we're going to tell the
Yeah.
truth.
Yes.
But
But
again,
Beth
he's also
wouldn't
thinking,
do it.
but it's
They
not
just
just Beth's decision. It's not like at that point, it's all
you,
three of them,
you
of the
know
adults who,
the meme or those reels where it's like, where's the adult? And then you realize you're the adult. I was reading this book wondering where the fucking adult was. Where was the responsible person who is actually just going to do the right thing? Because like that's fucked. Like
but
I
again, you hear of
oh,
this happening in real life all the
just
time,
wild.
though. I know, but again, we've never been in that situation. Like I can say I've never been in that situation where I have like a dead body being like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? And I think grief and shock and adrenaline make people make really weird, shitty decisions in the
Terrible
moment.
decisions.
And so I think
But they
that's
had that
where,
whole time to change the narrative. So that's the thing. Yes, in the moment they covered it
but
up,
then you get so, but then you get so deep into it that it's like, because you see that all the time. And I mean, again, this is a
on
fiction book and
TV
a fiction like,
shows.
but it happens in real life. You hear people, you hear these stories, and you're like, how did these people get to this point? And it's again that little decision is made, and then it just keeps snowballing,
Terrible.
and then it gets out of control. But it is very like to me, it's very realistic. Of I can understand why people would make these decisions. Again, I don't necessarily agree with the decisions being made, but if I was in that situation and I was like, okay, 11-year-old boy just shot someone,
Yep.
he could potentially be tried as an adult because you hear of that happening all the time. And like our justice system is not, and again, this is back in the 1960s, so who
And
knows?
it's in
But who
England.
knows
It's not
what?
America.
No, I know, but still, like just think about it though. Like if you don't know what's going to happen, this child's life could be altered. It's the child's life's going to be altered no matter what.
Yep.
But if he goes to jail or if he goes to whatever, like there's just again so many like I would not ever want to be in their situation and have to make those decisions because none of them are good.
No.
There's no good outcome. So like they are making, and I don't blame Beth for all of that. Like on this one, I don't fully blame Beth because I think at the end of the day, it was Gabriel and Frank that kind of led that decision,
Well, it was
and
Frank.
Beth just went along with it.
No, well, it's Frank. He was the one that did it. I don't,
Right, exactly.
it
Like
wasn't
he was
Gabriel.
like
But they didn't
he was
need to
just
go along with it, right? Like, they didn't need to have, Gabriel, there was no requirement for him to do that, or for Beth to do that, or for
but he was
Leo
my
as the child to not be like, actually, guys, I'm the one that shot
a
Jamie.
9-year-old boy though.
He was
He doesn't know
11.
what's going on. 11 still. My
He
nephew's
was 11.
12. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he doesn't like. No, I
But then
don't
all
know.
the
But
more
like,
reason, though, for the adults, someone to be an adult and to give this poor child some support. Because, like, it's not like they could go bring him to a psychologist and be like, oh, let us tell you about the murder that my son
yeah, but remember, it was
committed.
back in the 60s, so they wouldn't have really been doing any of that anyway.
Oh, there was so many psychologists in the 60s, Caitlin. So many.
They probably would have given him a lobotomy or
She's
something.
only 11. No.
I know, but back then, like it just like
I don't
again,
know.
I think
I
as
don't
Gabriel,
know.
like I don't know if I would be able to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna tell the truth, and my 11-year-old son is gonna be labeled a murderer. I don't like again, I can't imagine having to make that decision.
But like they didn't charge Frank with murder. They didn't charge Frank with murder. Yes. Well, but then that's
still, like,
manslaughter, but it's accident. It's an accident. So if it's an accident with an 11-year-old boy, it's an
I
accident.
think they just weren't willing to risk it. I don't like.
I don't know.
I again,
Such a frustrating book.
Rationally, it doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Like I said, again, from this is the right thing to do. Let's do it. Human nature, we don't always do the right thing, even though we know better.
Yep.
So this is just that again. That
where's the adult?
It proves that even adults, like again, no one knows the answers to these things.
Where's the adult in the room? Someone needs to make a rational decision.
Adults make really bad decisions. I think kids make better decisions than adults sometimes because again, We understand the consequences and the shit that's going to happen.
Then we should have asked Leo what he wanted.
I think Leo was just
fucked.
But again,
right
Leo
up.
does go and tell Nina at the end, like once he's older, what actually happened. So he does kind of like.
Yes, he does.
I think, again, I think that's where like I think the reason why I enjoyed this book, because I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the journey that Clare Leslie Hall takes us on. I don't have to necessarily love a character in order to enjoy the story. So, like, yes, I didn't agree with what Beth was doing, but I empathized with her a lot. And would I have made, like I said, would I have made the same decisions as her? No, probably not. But I don't know. I hope to never find myself in any of those situations.
For sure. I do think, like, the one saving grace of this book was Grace and the denouement of part 5. So this is another reason why this book didn't get 2 stars, is, you know, when they close out the last part of this book. And I did like how the author actually gave each part of the book, she tied it to one of the characters. So, you know, the last part is Grace. This is the child that Frank and Beth conceive when they reconcile during the trial or right before the trial. And I think that this is the, like, it's not a happy turnaround, but it does help kind of bring the emotionality of the book together. And I actually think, like, this is when I cried in the book. Like, the emotional aspect of the book when poor Frank finally gets to leave fucking prison and he comes home and he hops the fence like he always does, and he's crossing the field and Grace sees him for the first time. Like, that got me emotionally. That, I think, for me, like, once again, this is why this is not a 2-star book for me. And I did like seeing, like what you mentioned about, you know, Leo telling Nina. We find out how, you know, they tell Leo why it's, you know, Frank is doing this to protect him. And there's all these kind of little things that they don't tie up the ends in a way that made me happy, but they do, you know, like kind of close out the story, and you have a bit of a positive outlook or hope for poor Frank and his horrible wife, and that they, you know, will be able to maybe move forward because they now have this child. And it comes together. So, like, yes, Clare Leslie Hall did a fantastic job. Like, I will not take away from that. I think that the book is extremely well written. It's emotional. But ultimately for me, it's like, I just can't enjoy a book when the characters annoy me this much. And, like, this is very similar to the book we read, which also has a poor dad named Frank. Like, I don't know why we read 2 books where this Frank's getting the short end of the stick here, and people are going to prison. But, like, if I dislike the main character this much, like, it's hard for me to actually enjoy the story. And I really appreciate what the author did, but I didn't need to live in the shitty ass decisions that Beth made for, like, over 300 pages. Like, holy fuck. Like, I would never have read this book.
In a very different way. Like, I just feel like, I think, again, I didn't love Beth. I didn't hate her. I just liked the humanity of the characters, because it is very much like, again, people aren't good people. Like, people in general will make selfish decisions. Yeah. And I think Beth never would have predicted that any of this would have happened by her making the decisions she did.
Well, you're clearly a better person than me, because, like, I just couldn't get there. I had no empathy for this woman.
Like, I just keep thinking, like, because again, there's so many people who step out of their marriage or their
Yeah.
relationship and like make those decisions. And like some of them are not for their, first loves or true loves. They just do it because I don't know, like they're bored or I don't know, they're miserable in their existing relationship. I don't know. So I think, but Beth never would have predicted that all of this would have that domino effect. I mean, like
Yeah.
you look at, like, I just think of like even things that happen in the real world of like people being murdered or killed. Like most of the time, people are being murdered by people that they know and
Yep.
like are close to
Yep.
because of decisions that are made. Like no one ever like very like serial killers are the ones that are like going out with the intention to hurt and harm
Yep.
people. Most people who actually end up taking someone's life are not premeditated. Well, some of them are premeditating because they're just, again, getting themselves in these situations and feeling desperate enough to not know how to get out of it and thinking like, oh, well, I need to like hire a hitman to take out my husband.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it just, I think that's where I just looked at it from, in that like these people were human and
Yeah.
making decisions that just spun out of control. And they all make bad decisions. Like they all make, there's all those moments where you're like, if like, if Claire hadn't, or Claire, why do I keep seeing
I
the
know. I know.
author? If Beth hadn't read Gabriel's diary, if she had confronted him and like not, just walked away, if Gabriel had like actually said like you're wrong and not just been a spoiled stubborn ass and just let her leave. Like there's just so many little moments that could have changed the trajectory of what
Yeah.
happened. And like I get that, I know you said like Frank wasn't, it was an accident that happened to Bobby, but like John, Beth did say, I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I feel like you're
100%.
not going to watch him, and knows that these men, these farm men, are going to be like
Yeah.
very
And she
into
still
what they're
left.
doing.
Yep.
And but again, her husband was like, no, we've got him. We've got him. At some point, you have to trust your husband. And it bit her in the ass, like in a huge way. Like it just, there's so many things that I'm like, no, these people are just human. They're doing the best they can and they're making
Yep.
poor choices. So that's where I think that's why I really like appreciated the book, because it wasn't supposed to be a happy,
You're very
love story.
generous to Beth. So
I
generous,
didn't I
Caitlin.
didn't like her, but I didn't hate her. Like like again, I would hope that if I was in her situation that people would have empathy for me too, because like I said, it's human nature to make poor choices.
Yeah.
And hopefully our poor choices don't lead to where this led.
Yeah. And this
Like
is
I said, I wouldn't want to have
exactly
to make any of those choices.
this is exactly why the whole like shtick of why we do this is because we have very different experiences when we read books, and like we read different books, right? Like
Like
this and
this is my bread and butter when it comes to books. Like
yeah,
this
so
is
this is
exactly
probably
what I love.
not a book I ever would have picked up. And I think like for this book specifically, like at the end of the day, it comes down to whether or not as a reader you empathize or you don't empathize with Beth.
Yeah.
Right. And like I did not. Like if she was she was more frustrating than the friggin' daughter in the last book.
Oh no.
Oh, just terrible.
No.
Yeah. So so I think, I'm glad I read the book, and it is interesting because I was out with a friend on Friday, and she has read this book, and her and I had the same experience.
Okay.
And I don't know if she finished this book or not, but we actually did have the same experience. And today, when I was getting ready for the stream, I actually found a few 2-star reviews on this book. So I think it doesn't take away from how well it's written, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not a literary critic. I'm not picking up books now to dissect them and understand the merits of how well they're written and like the aspects of the protagonist and like really get into that. And I'm sure there are numerous English professors that are going to have this book on their syllabus and they're going to talk about all of the mechanisms that the author uses for this book. And I feel like this just was not for me. But I recognize that it's extremely well written. I'm just not in the era of like, you know, this as my go-to book. I'm glad I got it from the library and I didn't buy it.
See, this is a book I would recommend to people.
Oh, I probably would, with the caveat of like, this was my experience, like, just so you know. So like, if you like wanting to like throttle the main character, read this book.
See, I definitely didn't hate Beth nearly as much as you did.
Oh, she was horrible.
That's for sure. Yeah, I would recommend, like, this, like I said, these are the types of books that, and I haven't read a book like this in a really long time. Like, it's been a while. So, and it's interesting because not right after, but shortly after, right after actually, because I have my Goodreads app, I finished Where the Wildflowers Grow.
Yep.
And it's by Tara Shelton Harris. And I wouldn't say it's similar, but it's in kind of the same genre, I would say. And again, it was a friend that hadn't read it, but said like, oh, this popped up. And I really think, and I got it from the library, it just came out not too long ago.
Yeah.
And it's about a woman who is on a bus because she's a convicted felon. And the bus goes over, gets in an accident, and she's the only survivor. And so she escapes and then goes on this journey of her life. And again, it's very similar in the sense of decisions were made. Now, this one is not, I don't think you would hate this character. But again, decisions get made that you're just like, what?
Yeah.
And this one's a little different because, anyway, I'm not going to get it. But anyway, again, it's that type of book where I'm like, this is what I love to read. Like it's been a while since I've picked up these types of books.
Yep.
And I've missed them because I just devoured them and was like, okay, I love this where I, don't necessarily love the character. Like I don't fall in love with the characters, but I fall in love with the story.
Mm-hmm. I think if Beth's decisions only impacted Beth, I would feel differently.
It would be a boring book.
Yeah, it would. Well, lively discussion today.
We had very, very different opinions. So I would be very, very curious to hear for those who've read this book, what their thoughts are.
Yeah, drop a comment in the chat, or if you are watching this later on YouTube, let us know. Leave us a comment. We're very curious.
I feel like we need to do a good post on social for both on both TikTok and Instagram too, and find out what the consensus is. Who was Team Caitlin? Who was Team Aaron? I was
gonna say like who was Team Beth and who was Team absolutely not Beth.
But it's not about, like, that's the thing is, like, see, that's where, like, I really see, like, I didn't get caught up on Beth because I was like, she's making bad decisions, but
she ruined the entire book.
Like, it wasn't about Beth.
Oh, it was about Beth. The whole story is literally about Beth.
Story. Again, it was not just about Beth.
We agree to disagree. But this just makes me so excited to not read any more about Beth and not talk about her ever again. Because our next book is The Astral Library by Kate Quinn. And this we talked about on our last stream. We're both excited for this book because we both like Kate Quinn. But also I'm excited for it because this is just the type of book I love. So I haven't gone into any spoilers. Very different, but I think like good palate cleanser. Like Broken Country was a very heavy book, so I think this will be nice, and I'm excited.
I'm very interested to see what this book is like, though, because it is a very, very big deviation from what Kate Quinn typically writes.
Yes, it
Very
is.
different.
I think it'll be great. I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Very excited.
thanks everyone.
So yeah. Yes, this was a great time. I'm going to get back to reading and maybe finish
Yes, your 10th book for
my
the
10th
month.
book. Well, the funny thing is I really wasn't planning on, like, I started a book, when did I start it? I finished Where the Wildflowers Friday night, and I started this new book that has been popping up on a bunch of different lists for a while now, and it was called We Used to Live Here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I honestly finished it yesterday, so basically almost read it in a day.
Yep.
Because I knew I would not be able to read it at night because it was terrifying.
Ooh, okay, so scary book. Interesting. All right.
Honestly, if it was a movie, it was the only thing motivating me to finish this book, because I was like, I'm going to have to start another, like, I'm going to have 2 books on the go because I cannot read this once it gets dark.
Cleanse your brain.
It honestly, if and it's funny because I think they're actually turning it into like I think Netflix got the rights of it, and like they're turning it into a show. I will not watch it.
So it's a horror thriller?
It's a horror.
A horror. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Horror thriller. If I had been watching this and not reading it, I would have had to turn it off because it took.
That's actually interesting.
All of the things I actually hate in like basements, old creepy houses, weird things happening.
The word moist.
No, that wasn't even in there. It was like this weird, and there was like, she gets stuck in an attic, and then this woman in a bloody thing starts like shuffling out of the dark. And it was like, I'm reading and going like, this is terrifying. And I was like, and then I finished it, and I just stared at my Goodreads going like, I don't know what.
How many stars did you give it?
I gave it 2, and that was generous.
Interesting. So, because it was too scary?
There's no answers.
Oh, okay.
It just ends.
It just ends.
You're like, what the fuck did I just read?
Amazing.
And then I was like, this was absolutely, like, I was just like, I need to get through this. Like, the only motivation I had to finish it was like, I need to know what's happening and like what the explanation is.
Yeah.
Because you never know with the book whether it's going to be like an actual logical explanation or some weird like sci-fi shit going on. And I was like, I need to finish this before dark because like I'm so close that I literally sat there and stared at Goodreads, and I was like, I don't know what to rate this.
That's funny.
Because I couldn't stop reading it. But I was just like, what did I just read?
What did I just read?
And it's funny because it was like there was a plethora of 5s and there was a lot of 1s and 2s. Not a lot in between. So I was like, I'm not the only one, but I was just like, what did I just do?
Yep.
Anyway, terrifying. I will not watch the show. It was absolutely like I said, everything that I hate when it comes to like horror movies that make my skin crawl and like are like my worst nightmare, all in this one book.
Well, all the more reason for us to be excited for a light read in April that will cleanse our palate of the bad, scary, emotionally heavy books of March, right? We will end March and read a nice light book at the start of April. So, okay, cool.
And so stay tuned. We will post our recaps of what the books we read in March. So you'll see I'd say a wide range of I
think
stars,
so, yeah.
So.
Oh, yes. All right, thanks everyone. Catch up with us on social. See you next time.
Bye.